Now because we have our apple drawn, we could color it. So I'm going to go to my fill bottle and I'm going to go to red. I'm going to change my stroke to blue, or I could just leave that stroke for by default nonetheless. So I think I'll just take out my stroke because I don't really need it anyhow. And I'm going to go to my paint bucket tool, which we did in the last class, and paint it. Now, I mean, this is just a red apple. If you saw in my demonstration tutorial before we started, it had more like a gradient fill in it. So I'm going to hold on my left mouse button. I'm going to use this gradient fill. My bad, green. I'm going to choose red, and I'm going to paint it a radio kind of filled, but we could improve on this to make it look more realistic. I could go to my color palette. I could go to my color, and if I want, I could apply variations of colors to make this apple, I should say, a little bit more appropriate. So I think I would change this, double click on it and go to like orange, and double click on this and change this to red. And I'm going to use my paint bucket again and paint it. Realistical look of the apple. To make this look a little bit more realistic, we could still play up with some of the gradient options inside of here. So let's click on the color palette and let's add a palette. As you can see, the addition sign, so I'm going to add one here. I'm going to add one here. I'm just going to bring this across. I'm going to double click. I'm going to make this a red. Let me just double click on this, make this move orange, and just move this across. I'm going to keep this as red, and I'm going to change this color here to a kind of darkish brown or something like that. I could probably scroll it up a little bit. I'm going to use my color tool again to give it a different kind of gradient. Let's move it around a little bit. Now this will take us a while to improve on this, so we could again go to the color palette and somewhat play with this one a little bit. This is too gray. We'll just set this back as kind of brownish. Give it somewhat, kind of like move this up a little bit so it could go back to red. Just play up with it a little bit. Let's take our ink bottle and see if we get something. Not too particularly like this brown here, so it will take us some time to get used to it. Right, to make it look a lot realistic. Alright, so probably choose a different color, and let's probably just bring this down a little bit. Reddish. Let's see how this look here. Nope, it doesn't give us that brown finish, so it'll take us a while to get it to get used to of playing with it a little bit. So let's bring it down here. This looks okay. Alright, yeah, this starts to look a little better. The next thing that we could do, we could use this gradient transform tool. Right, gradient transform, remember we just introduced state, and we could bring in the gradient a little bit. Bring it back out. You could bring it up, right, down, rotate it a little bit, move it around, and kind of like position it in the way that you would want to kind of like make this apple a little bit more realistic. Okay, let's probably turn this around a little bit, bring this over. Alright, it takes a while for you to play up with this in order to get the hang of this per se. So again, we could your palette and yeah, make some adjustments to your colors. Okay, could probably bring this up a little bit. Alright, you can see some changes making place there, and you play up with it again. Impress me, because part of your tutorial you'll have to do something very impressive and so on. Assignment, I should say, to bring this apple to somewhat a little bit more realistic, but it's okay here so far.